Hello everyone and welcome to the class. How are you? Well, today we are going to start a new content in page 61, okay? So we have a new content with vocabulary and a new grammar point. Don't worry, this grammar point is really short and really simple, okay? So we're going to start a new content now. A skateboard, a scooter, roller skates, a princess, to stand, stood, a dialect, a letter, a prince. Okay? So we have some new words. The first three ones, a skateboard, a scooter, and roller skates, are all things we use for sports or physical activities, okay? I am pretty sure that when you were a child, you used to have roller skates or a skateboard, yes? Every child dreamed of having a skate or some roller skates, okay? So at least I really wanted one, but I never got. But this is a skateboard, okay? So this is a skateboard. And then we have a scooter, which is similar to a motorcycle, but we sit in a scooter like we would sit in a chair, and our legs, they stand like this. They are close together. Okay, so this is a scooter. It's like a motorcycle, but we sit in a scooter like we would sit in a chair. Yeah? So then we have roller skates, which in the 90s and early 2000s, roller skates were very popular. Yes, and they probably are until this day. So these are roller skates, okay? Everyone used to have roller skates, and they used to walk with roller skates all around. So those three first words are skateboard, a scooter, and roller skates, okay? And then we have a princess, and in the next column, a prince, okay? So back in the days, we used to have princess and princesses, okay? They are members of the royalty, and they are the daughters or sons of the king and queen, okay? Disney movies, they have a lot of princesses and princes, and they have those fairy tale stories where the princess falls in love with the prince and they get married and so on and so forth. But we used to have princesses and princes in real life as well. They were part of royalty in medieval times, for example, okay? Great Britain still have the monarchy, yes, and they have princes and princesses as well, yes? So a princess and a prince, they are part of the monarchy, okay? They are the sons or daughters of the king and queen, okay? So a princess is female and a prince is male. In the plural, a princess is princesses, and the plural of prince is princes, okay? It's kind of confusing. There's a lot of S's in these words, okay? But the plural of princess is princesses, and the plural of prince is princes, okay? The next word we have is to stand. What is to stand? The verb to stand is the act of you standing on your feet. For example, you are standing up. Yes? So this is to stand when you are on your feet. Okay, so you are standing. Okay. Then the next word we have is a dialect. What is a dialect? Well, a dialect is it's a way of speaking a language. Okay, so we have a language, okay, like the English language. We have the English language, and then we have several dialects, okay, which are ways of speaking English. So in Ireland, we have the Irish dialect. In Scotland, we have the Scottish dialect, okay? So a dialect can include different words or different grammars, okay? So it's a way of speaking a language, okay? So we have Portuguese, we speak Portuguese, yes? In different parts of the world, we have different Portuguese dialects, okay? This is a dialect. It's a different form of speaking a language, okay? So they have different words, they have different grammars from the original language, okay? This happens in several parts of the world. Then the next word we have is a letter. A letter, we saw letter in book 3, in book 1, I mean, yes? So we saw a letter in book 1, which meant they were letters like A, B, C, D. So in this content, a letter is like a mail you send. So you write a letter, dearest mother, I hope you are well. You write on a paper and you fold it and you send to your mother. Okay, so this is a letter. People used to write a lot of letters back in the day, back when computers didn't exist. So people used to write letters a lot. So a letter is a way of communication, yes, through paper. You write on your paper and you put it in the mail and you send to someone you want to communicate, yes? So this is a letter. And then the last one we already saw, it's a prince, okay? So a prince is the son of the king and queen, yes? Then the next thing we have is a new grammar point, which is about use to, okay? So where and how do we use the grammar use to? We can use to talk about habits in the past, okay? So things you did in the past, habits you used to have, things you did in the past, and they were habits. So for example, I used to play the piano when I was a teenager, okay? This is an example in the book. So in the past, I played the piano when I was a teenager. It was in the past. So I used to do this thing, okay? Traduzido para o português, o used to seria o costumava. Eu costumava fazer tal coisa, costumava fazer tal coisa. Então, eu costumava tocar piano quando eu era adolescente, ok? So, in the affirmative sentences, we use used to, okay? We add the letter D in the end of the word use. So, it stays used to, okay? This in affirmatives. Things that you used to do in the past. I used to ride roller skates when I was a child. When I was a child, I used to have a skateboard, for example. Okay? So used to is things that happened in the past that we, it's a habit that we did. Okay? So we have another example here. The boy used to study every day. Okay? So he used to study in the past. Yes, every day in the past. With questions and negative sentences, we do not add the letter D. Okay, so in affirmative questions, the use to becomes used to, and in questions and negatives, we are going to use the auxiliary verb do in the past. So do in the past becomes did. Okay, so for example, I am going to say that I didn't do this particular thing in the past. So I didn't use to play the saxophone. This is an example in the book. I didn't use to play the saxophone. So we are going to use the auxiliary verb do in the past. So it becomes did. In the negative becomes didn't. So I didn't use to do something. Okay? And in the questions, we are going to use the auxiliary verb do, which becomes did in the past. And for questions, we are going to put the auxiliary verb in the front of the sentence to ask a question. So, did you use to play the saxophone? Okay? So, did you use to do something? Yes? So, this is the new grammar point. It's pretty simple, yes. It's about the use to. So how do we use the use to? We use the use to talk about habits and things that happened in the past that you did quite frequently, that it was a habit, okay? So I used to ride my skateboard to school, for example. I used to have English lessons in the past. Okay? So with questions and negatives, we are going to use the auxiliary verb do in the past. So the auxiliary verb do in the past becomes didn't. Okay? In the negative, I didn't use to do something. And in the questions, did I use to do something? Okay? So this is our new grammar point. Quite simple, yes? Well, now let's do the let's repeat, okay? When I was a child, I used to play basketball every weekend. Thomas used to ride his scooter on Saturdays. Nowadays, he rides his bicycle. Emily used to pretend to be a princess with her friends. Companies used to write only letters instead of emails 20 years ago. The teacher stood by the whiteboard and waited for the students to arrive. Okay? So this is our let's repeat, and now we're going to do the let's practice, okay? What did you used to do when you were a child? Did you use to pretend to be a prince or a princess when you were a child? What is the name of the British prince? Did people use to speak Latin? Did the teacher stand last lesson? Did you use to ride a scooter or a bicycle when you were a child? What sports did Emily use to play at school? What did you used to do when you were younger that you don't do now? So we have the next page, the rest of the let's practice, okay? What language did Brazil speak before the Portuguese arrived? Did Mr. Jones used to have a Ferrari? Did you used to enjoy studying English? Where did Rachel used to live? What are the children of kings and queens called? Okay, so we are going to go back to the start of the Let's Practice, and I'm going to say the answers and then you give me the questions, okay? I used to play with dolls when I was a child. Yes, I used to pretend to be a princess when I was a child. The name of a British prince is Prince George. Yes, people used to speak Latin. Yes, the teacher stood last lesson. Yes, I used to ride a bicycle when I was a child. Emily used to play tennis at school. I used to play a lot of sports when I was younger. Brazil used to speak Tupi-Guarani, but there were also more than 1,500 other dialects before the Portuguese arrived. Yes, Mr. Jones used to have a Ferrari. No, I didn't used to enjoy studying English, but I do now. Rachel used to live in London. The children of queens and kings are called princess and princesses. Okay, so this is our new content. Yes, it's quite simple, right? We have some new vocabulary and a new short, very simple grammar point. Okay, so that's it for today, guys, and I will see you next lesson. Bye-bye.